In 2011, a bark painting from the Kluge-Ruhe Aboriginal Art Collection of the University of Virginia was selected as one of Virginia's top 10 endangered artifacts by the Virginia Association of Museums. Djarrakpi Story was painted in 1966 by Narritjin Maymuru, a Yolngu artist from northeast Arnhem Land, Australia. This painting in natural pigments on eucalyptus bark suffers from paint loss and is in danger of losing more paint where the pigments are tinting and flaking. Further paint loss can be prevented through the process of consolidating the pigment, work that must be done by an experienced professional conservator. In preparing our application for the Top 10 Endangered Artifacts campaign, we consulted Dr. Howard Morphy, an anthropologist who worked with Narritjin over many years. The images in the painting refer to a story about two ancestors who long ago in the creation era known as Wangar, or the Dreaming, went off in search of parrotfish near a place called Djarrakpi in Blue Mud Bay. A tidal wave created by a turtle ancestor cast them overboard and they were drowned. Later their bodies washed up on shore. Symbols in the bark painting reference the death of the ancestors. The bird is in all likelihood the ancestral guark, a harbinger of death in the Djarrakpi story. The shape of the canoe and the sail combine to create a visual metaphor for an anvil-shaped cloud that sits on the horizon at the onset of the rainy season, another symbol of death. And finally, the shape of this mast, which curves slightly inward, refers to a ground sculpture called a yingapungapu, used in mortuary ceremonies. This bark painting is significant for three main reasons. First, it is an important work by one of the masters of Australian bark painting, Narritjin Maymuru. Here, Narritjin combines symbols with multiple reference, alluding to a large body of ceremonial knowledge to which he was principally entitled as a senior member of his clan. Second, elements in this painting reflect a history of interaction and exchange between coastal Aboriginal people and Indonesian traders from Makassar. It is thus an important artifact of world art history. Makassans sailed in their vessels, called prows, on an annual cycle guided by the prevailing seasonal winds to collect treepang, also known as sea cucumber. Their visits were welcomed by Aboriginal people who established friendly trade relations with them. Makassans introduced the dugout canoe and cloth sails to Aboriginal people and were incorporated into Yolngu cosmology and art. Third, while this painting suggests Makassan influences, the story it tells is about Yolngu ancestors associated with Djarrakpi. According to Dr. Morphy, Yolngu say they possess knowledge of the Makassans long before they arrived, maintaining that their art and culture has not changed over time. This indicates a very different notion of history than the one we are used to, art history told from a unique Indigenous perspective. It is through objects such as this one that we can begin to understand Yolngu art within the rich history and context of Yolngu culture. Please join us in securing the preservation of Djarrakpi Story, one of Virginia's top 10 endangered artifacts.